The St. Louis Blues are back and ready for the start of training camp as they make another go at a long playoff run. Josh Hyman of Locked On Blues joins us to discuss the offseason in St. Louis and all things Blues next on the Locked On NHL Podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On NHL Podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could be with us today, and thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Blues, Josh Hyman. And Josh, are you ready for training camp?
I am. I've been itching for hockey to get back. Football's coming back. It's getting me into the fall sports mood. I'm really excited. A lot has changed for the Blues in somewhat minor ways, but it's a big season coming up.
It is. And what has been the biggest change in your mind for the Blues this offseason?
Jordan Binnington has lost his safety net. Ever since, he's come up and joined the team, he's been blessed with a really solid backup. And we saw this last year with Ville Husso essentially becoming the starter down the stretch for the St. Louis Blues before Binnington took over again in the playoffs and played his best hockey since the Stanley Cup run that they had in 2019. But this upcoming season, he has Thomas Greiss, who, as much as he is a solid goaltender, he's getting up there in age, and he struggled last year with Detroit. So it's definitely going to be a true starter backup situation in St. Louis for the first time in Jordan Binnington's career. And, he faltered last season in that area, but he does not have the ability to struggle again, because if he does, I don't think the Blues are making the playoffs. But I think he's ready for the challenge. I'm ready for the challenge. I'm really excited to see what happens.
If everything goes according to plan, how many games do you think Binnington starts this year?
I think he gets a good chunk. I think he would start about 2/3 of the games in an ideal world. Can't do the math off the top of my head, but I'm thinking
55, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think, he's going to have to be that guy for the St. Louis Blues. And he was, when he got called up back in 2019, he started pretty much, he had a starting caliber load. After that, he started every game in the playoffs. We all know how that ended. So I know he's capable of it. It's just a matter of confidence with him. And if he gets on a roll, I think this team could do some scary things.
Two big contract extensions signed in early July. Robert Thomas, an 8-year extension. Nick Leddy, a 4-year deal. Your thoughts on those two contracts? Were they good moves? A little too long in the term on the Thomas deal? What are your thoughts?
I mean, you could argue that the Thomas deal is a little too long, but you were never going to sign him to. I don't think that, but I think it's an argument. You're never going to sign him to less than that. He's an up and coming star center in the league. It's par for the course. You give your young guys an 8-year deal. There have been, you probably count on one hand the times that hasn't happened. So it's kind of just a precedent. It's going to happen, and also he's a great player. He's a center, which is probably the most valuable position on the team. You playing tons of minutes. He plays on the penalty kill sometimes. He plays on the power play sometimes. He plays great at 5v5. He is next up. He will be the next face of the St. Louis Blues in the eyes of the front office. They have said that themselves. I love that contract. I think he is such an exciting player to watch, and the sky is the limit for him in terms of his potential. Nick Leddy, on the other hand, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Obviously, I think the Blues kind of had no choice. I think he is good enough to give them an above average, solid top 4 defense, but it's a little frightening having Justin Falk, Colton Parayko, Nick Leddy, and Torrey Krug all locked up long term, because it's like, if that top 4 isn't good enough, you're kind of handcuffed in the sense that you got all those guys on long term contracts. Realistically, you could probably only trade one if you needed to. So the Blues are really betting on the future with that defensive core. Nick Leddy had his ups and downs with St. Louis. I don't think he's as bad as a lot of people think he is, but he's certainly not that number one defenseman that everyone wanted the Blues to go out and get this offseason, and that was not the most realistic path, but it's definitely a disappointment. I think Nick Leddy is going to be fine. I don't think that's a contract that's going to cripple the team, but I don't know. I'm neutral on that one.
Okay, fair enough. Your biggest concern heading into training camp for this team?
Biggest concern. I think my biggest concern is the lack of sustainability of the goal scoring that the Blues had last year. They had 920 goal scorers, and that sort of eased the lack of success from Jordan Binnington. And the defense also got out to a really rough start. I personally think that the offense will be just as good, and the defense will be better, and Binnington will be better. However, if the offense gets out to a slow start, because I don't think scoring is going to be quite as high as it was last year. It was astronomical, and I think it's going to come back down a little bit. I still think it's going to be higher, but 920 goal scorers is a huge feat. That is a entire top 9 forwards of 20 goal scorers. That doesn't happen a lot. So if the Blues can't get wins like 6-5 like they did at the beginning of the year last year, it's gonna have a ripple effect. It's going to affect Jordan Binnington's confidence. It's going to affect the defense's chemistry. So I hope that in my mind, when they inevitably don't score quite as much as they did last year at the beginning of the year, that the defense and the goaltending can sort of step up to the plate and accept that challenge.
I know the Blues have been contenders for a number of years now. They're more of an established team on the scale of rebuild, established contender, all of that. But are there some young players that you have your eye on in training camp that fans should be aware of?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you've listened to any episodes of Locked On Blues, you've heard the name Jake Neighbors come up probably every episode this offseason. He's a guy that the Blues drafted in the first round a couple of years back. Had the pleasure of having him on the show like a few days after he was drafted. And right from there, I could tell he was a very high character person, not even just hockey aside. He just was one of the most genuine interviews I've ever given. And I could tell right there, he was just a good guy, a good person. And like, that's something the Blues really value. Not only that, he goes out and he captains his team to a WHL championship this past offseason, wearing the C at a young age like that. That's a huge honor for him. The guys on the team love him. If you see him on social media, he's always hanging out with some of the younger guys on the team. He's pretty much an honorary member of the team by who he hangs out with and stuff like that. The guys love him. The front office speaks so highly of him. I would be shocked if he didn't have a spot day one. And I think training camp is going to prove that. I'm looking forward to seeing him play a lot. I think he could be a sneaky Calder pick for the St. Louis Blues.
All right, you heard it here first from Josh Hyman. Josh, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Absolutely. So podcast is Locked On Blues. It goes by that on any social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok, regrettably. YouTube, Locked On Blues, getting close to 500 subscribers. Kind of cool. So if you're not subscribed there, please do. Getting close to a big milestone. Want to do something special for that. And in terms of my Twitter, it's Josh Hyman NHL. Hyman, Hyman. Follow me on Twitter. I post about the Blues and some other fun stuff. Oh, looking forward to seeing you there.
All right, Josh, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product I literally use every day. I started taking AG1 because I'm not a big pill taker, and I hate taking so many pills to get my vitamins and my nutrition. So what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All these things. And it's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. And look, it costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day, and that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.